Dear Leo, something terrible has been done behind your back. And it wasn't just your sister. A family member joined her. The betrayal runs deeper than you imagined, and today, the truth is rising. You didn't click this video by chance. You were guided here by intuition, by divine timing, or maybe by a quiet ache in your spirit that refused to be silenced any longer. And now, that ache is being answered. Let's be honest. Something has felt off for a while now. The energy in your family shifted. Trust turned thin. Conversations became colder. You may not have had all the facts, but your heart knew. Something in your spirit began whispering, "You're not crazy. You're not paranoid. Something really is happening behind the scenes." And you were right. This message is not here to hurt you. It's here to awaken you. Because the very person who should have protected your name, the sister who once held your secrets, has allowed envy, insecurity, or ego to lead her into a decision that wounded you. And heartbreakingly, she didn't do it alone. Another family member, someone you trusted, chose to stand beside her in silence, or worse, in action. Leo, I know how deeply you love. You give with your whole heart. You protect what's yours like a lion does its pride. But when betrayal strikes from within your circle, it does something different. It doesn't just hurt. It rewrites your understanding of loyalty. It shakes your sense of safety. And it leaves you asking, why? Here's what I need you to hear today. This betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. It's a revelation of who they truly are. You are not the wound. You are the awakening that follows it. You are not the broken one. You are the one rising from the break, stronger, clearer, and more divinely aligned than ever before. Every soul walking this earth will face betrayal at some point. But not everyone will rise through it with power, grace, and spiritual clarity. You, Leo, were born with a radiant heart, a heart strong enough to survive what others use to destroy. You carry the energy of the sun. And no lie, no plot, no alliance made in the dark can dim what was designed to shine. This is not just a family drama. It's a spiritual initiation. What happened was not punishment, it was permission. Permission to break free from illusions. Permission to see people for who they really are. And permission to step into a higher vibration that no betrayal can touch. So I invite you now to stay with me until the end of this message. Because what the universe is revealing today will not only help you understand what happened but why it had to happen this way. Together, we'll walk through the betrayal, the divine protection, and the restoration waiting on the other side. Take a deep breath. You are not alone in this. You are not abandoned. You are seen, loved, and divinely guided. And yes, karma never misses. If this message is speaking to something buried deep inside you, if your intuition feels seen in these words, I want you to leave a comment below that says, I trust the truth. I claim my peace. Let this be your declaration. Your spiritual shield. And your signal to the universe that you're ready to step into the clarity you were born for. Let's begin. Leo, betrayal from a stranger can bruise the ego, but betrayal from someone who shares your blood? That cuts into the soul. And you, of all signs, understand what it means to give your loyalty freely, to protect your pride with the fierce devotion of the lion's heart. That's why what has happened here hurts in ways you haven't yet been able to explain. This wasn't just a moment of disappointment. It was a breach in your inner sanctuary, one committed not by some distant outsider, but by your own sister, and someone else in your family who silently stood by or actively encouraged it. The very ones who were supposed to be your shelter in the storm became the reason the sky broke open. What makes this particular wound so confusing is that it defies logic. You shared memories, childhood secrets, laughs over the dinner table, maybe even tears through growing pains. The person you trusted, who knew the intimate contours of your vulnerability, used that very closeness not to hold you, but to hurt you. And in doing so, she awakened something inside of you that may feel like a burning question. Why would someone who once held my hand now hold the knife? From an astrological perspective, these kinds of betrayals don't happen in a vacuum. When Saturn, the planet of karmic lessons and divine boundaries, moves through your fourth house, the sector of family, home, and emotional roots, what's hidden tends to rise. Saturn doesn't destroy what's real, it reveals what's false. And often, when the moon wanes into shadow in this part of your chart, things long buried in silence begin to whisper louder. That silence you felt? The one in family group chats, the one at family dinners when things suddenly go quiet when you walk in, that wasn't your imagination. That was your energy beginning to rise above what no longer aligned with it. Energetically, betrayal is never just about what was done. It's about the echo it leaves behind in your nervous system, your self-trust, your sense of belonging. And if you've been feeling more anxious, more isolated, even questioning your worth lately, that's not weakness. That's your intuitive body ringing the alarm that something sacred was violated. But this part of your story isn't here to punish you. It's here to realign you. What you're facing now is not the collapse of your foundation, it's the cracking of illusion. The image you held of your sister may not match the choices she's made. The idea you had of your family may not hold up against the reality you're living. And that's painful, yes. But it's also liberating. Because when the truth emerges, you're no longer imprisoned by the stories others told about you, or the masks they wore to stay in your life. You are free to see with clarity. You are free to choose peace, even if that means choosing distance. You are free to rebuild a definition of family that begins not with DNA but with honesty, loyalty, and mutual respect. And if your heart feels broken, let it be. Broken doesn't mean ruined. It means opened. And through that opening, light enters. Healing enters. Your future enters. What they did cannot change who you are, and it cannot touch what is divinely assigned to you. You were not made for shallow relationships. You were made for depth. And sometimes, depth reveals darkness first so that we may fully reclaim our light. If any of this has stirred something in you, an unspoken truth, a memory you buried, a confirmation you've been needing, let your soul respond. Leave a comment below that says, I feel it. I see it. I'm ready for truth. Your words matter. They are the first step toward reclaiming the power no one ever had the right to take from you. Leo, when someone tries to destroy your name behind your back, the wound cuts deeper than any open attack. The sting doesn't come just from what they did, but from what they whispered when you weren't in the room, when they thought your light wasn't watching. The betrayal becomes heavier when you realize it wasn't accidental. It was calculated. It was rehearsed. It was passed along quietly in conversations masked as concern, in stories twisted just enough to make people question your truth, your character, even your goodness. This is not merely betrayal. This is an intentional act of distortion, designed not only to harm you but to reshape how others see you. And for someone like you, Leo, whose life energy is centered in authenticity, dignity, and honor, that distortion feels unbearable. As someone with a natural solar presence, you shine wherever you go, often without even realizing it. But what happens when that radiance becomes someone else's mirror? Instead of seeing inspiration in you, they see everything they lack. They begin to chip away at the light you offer, hoping that if they can dim your glow, they'll feel less invisible next to it. This dynamic is not new, and unfortunately, it often begins in the most familiar places. Family wounds like this strike at the root chakra center of our safety, connection, and identity. And when your name, your character, your efforts are weaponized against you by someone you once called sister, it can destabilize everything. But here's what we must remember: lies are fragile, no matter how confidently they're told. They crack under the weight of truth. They crumble under the vibration of integrity. And even when you're not there to defend yourself, your energy speaks louder than any rumor ever could. You may have walked into rooms recently and felt a shift, people turning away, awkward pauses, sudden silences. You may have sensed a fog between you and those you once felt safe with. This fog was never about you. It was about the shadows others projected into your space. They wanted you small. They needed you quiet. But Leo, that's not who you are. You were born to speak truth with fire and stand with grace in the middle of misunderstanding. In tarot, the Seven of Swords represents hidden agendas and betrayal done in secret. It's the energy of someone walking away with something that doesn't belong to them: your story, your words, your worth. But the wisdom in this card is also clear: whatever is taken in darkness will always be exposed in light. The truth, like the sun that rules your sign, cannot be suppressed for long. It rises. It illuminates. And it restores what was falsely stolen. There is also symbolic medicine in color. Energetically, betrayal holds the vibration of deep black, a dense, stagnant energy that cloaks itself in mystery and control. But this darkness is not eternal. You can transmute it with conscious intention. Call in yellow, the color of illumination, clarity, and divine intelligence. This is the solar frequency of Leo at its highest expression: wise, warm, and fiercely clear. Wear it. Visualize it. Meditate with it. Let it replace the weight of what's been said about you with the radiance of what's true within you. You were never meant to convince the world of your purity. You were only meant to walk in it. And now, this experience, while deeply painful, is the mirror you needed to understand who's genuinely for you and who only stood close because your light kept them warm. If you've ever felt like someone close to you was reshaping your image behind closed doors, leave a comment below that says, "I reclaim my name." Let it be your vow to truth, your return to self, and a spiritual declaration that no lie told in darkness can outlive the light you were born to carry. When betrayal arrives through someone you once loved, it's natural to ask, "What did I do to deserve this?" But, dear Leo, the truth is far more layered and powerful than simple blame. This didn't happen because you fail at it, happened because you're rising. You see, betrayal doesn't always come as punishment. Sometimes, it comes as revelation. In the energetic framework of the cosmos, especially within the divine contract of soul growth, painful experiences often act as turning points. They are sacred disruptions designed to awaken something higher within you. And when that disruption comes from your own family, someone like your sister, it pierces through the illusions you've clung to for too long and brings to light what can no longer stay hidden in your energetic field. According to the law of attraction, we draw in experiences that mirror where we are in our spiritual evolution. That doesn't mean you attracted betrayal because of something you did wrong. It means your energy or light, your frequency, your healing is growing at a pace that others around you may not understand. Especially in families, when one person begins to elevate their vibration, their inner peace, or their clarity of purpose, it can create discomfort in those who are not yet ready to meet them at that level. Your sister's actions, while painful, may have been fueled not by hatred, but by the dissonance between who you've become and who she believes herself to still be. It's not uncommon for those closest to us to feel most threatened when we begin stepping into our authentic power. And what they cannot name, they often attack. Sometimes people don't betray you because you've wronged them, they betray you because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. You shine, Leo. You always have. And when someone carries unresolved insecurities or unprocessed grief, your light can feel too bright to bear. Instead of being inspired, they recoil. They criticize. They gossip. They isolate you. Not because of your darkness, but because of your brilliance. Your sister, and the family member who stood beside her, likely didn't plan this betrayal with evil intentions. More often than not, people act out of fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of being left behind. Fear that your light might cast a shadow over their unhealed spaces. And when fear teams up with ego, it becomes capable of doing terrible things. But this is not the end of your story. This is the part where everything changes. You are not the victim of their actions. You are the soul being invited to rise higher, to detach with love, and to finally see with clear eyes. Perhaps the most painful part of all is realizing that the label, family, does not always mean alignment. Not all who share our name are meant to share our future. And not all who grow up with us are meant to grow with us. Ask yourself gently, without shame, are you still holding on to someone simply because they are family even if their energy depletes you? Are you making room at your table for someone who would never offer you a seat at theirs? This isn't about pushing people away in anger. It's about recognizing when someone no longer chooses to walk beside you in honesty and mutual growth. There is no guilt in outgrowing those who choose not to evolve. Just grace. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to honor it. And sometimes, honoring your own light means allowing others to step out of your path. Like an old mirror too dusty to reflect anything clearly, there are people in your life who can no longer reflect your truth. That's okay. Your job isn't to fix the mirror. Your job is to keep shining. Pain, when it's born from betrayal, carries a specific weight. It doesn't just a cheat lingers. It nestles in the body like a memory refusing to fade. And when that pain comes from someone close, like a sister or family member you once trusted, it can alter the way you see yourself, not just them. But Leo, this is where I need you to breathe and remember, your pain may be valid, but it is not your identity. What you're feeling is real. The confusion, the sting of disloyalty, the sudden silence where love used to speak, all of it is real. But none of it defines your worth. We often grow up believing that if someone is family, they're supposed to love us unconditionally. But love that controls, manipulates, or silently tolerates betrayal is not love in its truest form. And when you begin to awaken to that truth, a deep grief can follow, not just for what happened, but for what you thought you had. This grief must be honored. Suppressing it or pretending you're unaffected doesn't make you stronger, it only pushes the wound deeper. And you, Leo, were not made to carry wounds in silence. You were made to transmute them into wisdom. Healing begins when we allow the pain to speak, but not to narrate our lives. That's where emotional journaling can become a powerful tool. Each morning, even just 5 minutes of writing what you're feeling can help externalize the internal storm. It gives your nervous system room to settle, and your inner child space to be seen. Combine this with the simple yet profound 4-4-8 breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 8. Do this 3 times when you feel overwhelmed. You're not erasing the pain, you're reminding your body that it's safe to release it. From a nutritional perspective, the mind and gut are far more connected than we're often told. Chronic emotional pain can create inflammation in the body, just as inflammation in the body can amplify emotional pain. Introduce calming, anti-inflammatory foods into your daily life: golden turmeric tea to settle the nerves, magnesium-rich greens to support your stress response, or lotus heart tea to soothe your emotional center. These are simple shifts, but over time, they create a foundation of inner support. Astrologically, the sun rules Leo, and the sun does not apologize for shining, even when it's hidden behind clouds. This is not a season of self-doubt. It's a season of remembering that your light is constant, even when your circumstances are not. Your identity is not tied to who hurt you or who walked away. Just like the sun continues to rise each morning, so too does your essence remain intact, brilliant, whole, and unwavering. Let's also pause here to reflect on something quietly powerful. Are you holding yourself back from receiving new love, friendship, or support because the people you expected it from didn't offer it? Sometimes, we limit how much healing we allow, and simply because we've grown accustomed to being the one who gives, not receives. But healing isn't just about letting go of pain, it's about making space for joy, too. So ask yourself gently, if the ones who were meant to love you failed to show up, are you still allowing that absence to close your heart to those who are trying to? You are not here to carry your pain forever. You are here to feel it, learn from it, and then slowly, bravely, release it. And when you do, Leo, the world will feel your light again, not because you hid your wounds, but because you healed them. Just as you've begun to rise from the wound, just as your heart has started to breathe through the fog of betrayal, comes the quiet reassurance that the universe does not forget. Leo, what has happened to you? The lies, the manipulation, the distortion of your name behind closed doors is not invisible to the greater laws that govern energy. The pain you've carried was never meant to be yours alone to resolve. There are forces greater than words, greater than will, that work silently and steadily toward balance. And one of those forces is karma. Karma isn't punishment. It's the law of return. A mirror. A balancing scale. The vibration you release into the world, whether it's born of truth or deception, will echo back in a form that matches its origin. When someone sows doubt, they eventually reap isolation. When someone sows lies, they eventually taste the unraveling of their own narrative. It may not happen when you want it to, and it may not happen where you can see it, but karma always arrives. Not too soon, not too late, but precisely when the lesson is most needed. It does not seek revenge, it seeks truth. And when truth arrives, it arrives like dawn, gently at first, but impossible to stop. In numerology, this cycle is reflected in the power of the number 8. 8 is the number of infinity, but it also represents balance, justice, cause and effect. It is the figure that turns upon itself, endlessly correcting, recentering, and returning to origin. And right now, whether you're aware of it or not, you're walking through a karmic chapter under the vibration of this number. Everything that has been done in secret is coming full circle. Everything that has been said in whispers is echoing back louder than it was spoken. And those who tried to dim your light are now discovering that shadows have a price. Not because you wished them harm, but because the energy they released was never clean. And energy, by its nature, is always seeking alignment. Your sister may have believed that her words would linger longer than your truth. The family member who stood beside her may have assumed their silence would protect them. But what they forgot is this: light doesn't ask permission to reveal what lives in darkness. It simply shines. It exposes. And it liberates. What they planted is now growing, but not into the future they imagined. It's blossoming into lessons, consequences, and moments that will quietly teach them what your loyalty once protected them from. And as for you, Leo, you are not left behind in this reckoning. You are being elevated by it. The more you step into clarity, the more your field repels what no longer resonates. This is not about being vindicated in front of others. This is about being set free in your own spirit. The moment you stop needing others to see what you've been through is the moment karma begins its deepest work. Because it is no longer about revenge, it becomes about restoration. And you deserve to be restored. So today, make a choice. Not to chase justice, but to embody light. To let go of the weight that isn't yours. To declare that your path forward is not bound by the darkness they tried to wrap around your name. If you feel this moment deep in your body, if something within you knows that the scales are tipping, then let the universe hear your affirmation. Leave a comment below that says, "I claim clarity." Let this be your shield, your surrender, and your silent agreement with the truth that no one can outrun what they've sent out. Karma never misses. And neither will your healing. Leo, if you've made it this far, know that it's not by accident. You were meant to hear every word, to pause and reflect, to reclaim what was taken from you not by force but by quiet betrayal, by energy that tried to disguise itself as love. And yet, you are still here. Not broken. Not bitter. But wiser. More awake. And more aligned than ever before. What they tried to take was never truly theirs to touch. Your truth. Your light. Your divine purpose. These things are not subject to manipulation. They are encoded in your spirit. And while others may have temporarily tried to cloud your reflection, the mirror has cleared now. You see yourself more truthfully than before. That is the gift hidden beneath the ache. This experience was never about revenge. It was about revelation. About learning to trust your inner knowing even when the world says otherwise. About understanding that healing doesn't always come from apology, as it comes from courage. The courage to let go of what's heavy, to stand firm in what's true, and to move forward even when those you love don't walk with you. You were never meant to stay small to make others comfortable. You were never meant to silence your truth just to maintain peace. And you were certainly never meant to dim your light so someone else could feel less threatened by their own shadows. Leo, this was your wake-up call, not to harden, but to rise. And now, it's time to act. Gently. With love. But clearly. What conversations have you been avoiding out of fear? What boundaries need to be honored to protect your energy? What emotions still linger in your chest, asking to be felt, released, and transformed? I invite you to take this message beyond just words. Let it become a turning point. Start by journaling one truth today that you haven't said out loud. Practice the breath work we explored. Shift your diet slightly, choose one calming food or tea that brings you back to center. It's in the small rituals that healing becomes real. It's in the daily devotion to yourself that your energy field recalibrates and your power returns. You're not alone in this. You never were. And the more you choose yourself, the more the universe responds with clarity, support, and alignment. Your soul knows what it's doing. Trust it. If you feel seen by this message, I'd love for you to share that in the comments. What spoke to you? What part of your life feels like it's rising into light? Let's make this a space for truth and transformation. You can simply write, "Karma never misses," to declare that justice is already in motion, or, "I choose light," if you're ready to walk forward, no longer carrying what was never yours. And if this message reached you in a way nothing else has lately, please like this video and subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence here, your energy, your support, it allows us to continue bringing these soul-deep truths to those who need them most. I'm grateful for you. Until next time, stay luminous. Your light is eternal. Your destiny is unshakable. And no one, not even family, can rewrite what was already written in your name.